And welcome to the full moon in May the 5th today, the 5th of the 5th. So I'm going to show you a reading of 3 cards that I made, that I've been looking at a little bit over the last few minutes or so. The 3 of Swords being the first one, and the 2 following cards are the 10 of Wands and the Emperor himself. Since this is the upside down card, this is the reverse card, I'm going to dive into this a little bit. And we've been looking at this card and really trying to feel into what this card means on a personal level, on very much an embodied level. And this is going to mean slightly different things for different people, but it will be different ways in which we feel this pain and this sorrow, the tears that coming from the storm, and the way that our mind and our thoughts pierces our heart and makes us feel this heartfelt sorrow, pain, loss, grief, sadness. And it's something that we can all relate to. It's something that is the most common experience, the most universal experience. And yet with this card upside down, there is a resistance to this pain, which is a natural resistance, because who wants to feel sad? Who wants to feel sorrow? And our natural rejection of the sadness and the loss and the grief that we might feel, that might get mirrored in our daily experiences, and we might run away from unconsciously because it's so uncomfortable. The natural resistance to this will cause us to not actually embrace the emotions that want to come up, embrace the tears, or embrace the energy of loss that needs to be felt or needs to be experienced, and that is asking to be experienced. It won't allow us to own that whole tragic, because this is the fatal tragedy card, feel that deep level of sorrow that allows us to embrace the tragedy of our lives and the tragedy of who we might feel we are, or who we might think we are. And if we don't embrace it, that energy can't move. If we resist it, if we push it away, it kind of just bubbles down and then comes back up again. And we end up staying stuck in this energy for longer when it's reversed this way. And that resistance or that rejection to feel it will have this nature of prolonging our sadness and burying our sadness, and having our sadness want to bubble up in our lives in many different types of experience that we may feel conflict towards and we may reject in many ways, but we won't actually embrace the lessons of it. We won't be able to actually accept it and to let it be inside of us, and let that loss be a part of who we are. Let ourselves own that loss. And so there's very much a fear of the feeling of loss, and the fear of the feeling of sorrow, the fear of that sadness and that grief that never feels great, but also needs us to feel it. It needs us to feel it because there's something behind that emptiness. There's something behind the sadness that is a connecting energy. It's an energy which is within all of humanity, and it can't be healed unless it's owned. It can't be understood unless it is embodied or allowed to be felt. And so the first message of this full moon in this and the energy of what seems to be very ripe in the world today is embody our own pain. Allow us to own our own pain. And when I say own our own pain, our natural tendency is, and this is what we're seeing a lot in the world today, is my pain is caused by you, or you, or you, or the collective you, or the patriarchal you, or the repression of you. And we're not empowering ourselves. We're blaming a lot of the outer world, because if you look for an excuse, you'll find 10 of them. And there are always going to be 10 reasons to blame our sorrow and to blame our pain, the pain that we're holding on to, the pain which is kind of like one of those core beliefs behind the conscious mind of all human beings, the belief that I'm not good enough, the belief that I lack something, the belief that I am not enough, the belief that I don't deserve to be loved, the belief that that I am that I am missing something, that I am empty, that I am not whole. This is a fundamental core idea inside of most of us humans, and it manifests in many different ways. We have to identify that belief, so that belief needs to be felt first, so that we can turn this card over and see that it's our own swords, our own ideas, our own beliefs that are in the basic creative essence of who we are. The three is that creative power. It's the mother, the father, the child energy. And when you get that mother, father, child energy, it represents our mother, our father, and how we have been created to believe a certain way, a certain set of ideas. We've been molded and transformed and encouraged to believe that we are less than we actually are. We are individual human beings running around on this planet, which to some degree we are, but we're much more. Yeah, and we're always going to feel that there's something missing unless we tap into that much more, unless we want to expand ourselves to realize that okay, there's this universal consciousness somewhere inside of this individual being I might call myself. There's this higher sense of self that I know is there, but unless I tap into it, unless I allow myself to feel that something's missing, that something is lost, then how can I ever look to find myself truly? How can I ever look for that, to find the motivation, the drive, the will, the determination to look for my real self if I'm holding on to these old ideas that I am never going to be enough? Those ideas will always be obstacles to connecting to my heart, which will ultimately tell me that I am love, or that I have the key to universal love, God's love, loving, connecting to all of the world around me, inside of me. Unless we own our pain, we can't own our ability to pull the swords out, to shift our consciousness, to make a change in the way we think about ourselves and the way we see who we are, to change our perception of life. So these two next cards come along as a kind of a reparation to this story. So in here, when this is upside down, we can easily be blaming a lot of the world for our own pain. And this is what we see a lot in the world today. And part of that is good because we're actually recognizing that there is a pain there, and that recognition, or that allowing the pain to come to the surface and be felt, is a beautiful thing. But then to say that I'm not in control of that pain, or then to say that, hey, somebody else is responsible for the way I feel. Why? Because, well, my parents conditioned me like this, because look at those atrocities in the world that are affecting me like this. Yeah. Lots of reasons that we can put the blame on the world, but even more reasons, if we look for them, to start owning and empowering ourselves to make the change and to say, hey, I can recognize that pain inside of me. This pain doesn't have to separate me from the world. I just need to catch those thoughts that are telling me that I am separate from the world and change those beliefs, and tell yourself, hey, we're all here working for one goal. This is the 10 wands that we can empower ourselves by saying, hey, I've got a spiritual work to do, and it's about me grabbing all of these wands, the wands from everybody, and I can hold these wands. I can then pass them to you, and you can carry all 10 wands for this humanity. You can carry the 10 wands of transformation, of healing, that are going to help this very lost human consciousness find itself once again. And this is our spiritual work, if you like. This is the power, the potential, the truth and the mission that we're on in many ways. And this mission we need to feel, and is in a way part of the solution to the denial or the fear of feeling this sorrow inside. This sorrow doesn't have to be the most terrible thing. We don't have to fear it. It can be the liberating thing that can allow us to feel, wow, this is the pain of separation that I have been born into. This is the pain of separation which our limited human consciousness is all buying into in many ways. And we need to discipline ourselves. We need to find this fiery, kick-ass masculine nature of a man inside of us that stands up and goes, right, well, I'm not going to settle for this crap. I'm going to start doing something. I'm going to pull myself out of this fear. I'm going to pull myself out of the depression that I might be falling into through denial. I'm going to allow myself. And I was just speaking to my community group and saying, yeah, this is that energy of manning up. But it's not like man up and ignore your feelings. It's more like a man up and own your sorrow. Own not just your sorrow, but that communal collective sorrow. Own the collective fear that we all have and that we might all hold in allowing ourselves to be a little bit real. Own it, man up, take it, control it, and then do something about it. Don't just sit there feeling it. Sit there and get up and change the ideas that are behind it, because it's your key core ideas, creative essence of ideas that are actually resonating in the pain that somebody else may well trigger for you, but is not the cause of. They're never going to be the cause. They're just going to be the mirror that shows you the pain that our own beliefs are holding on to inside of us. And we have to get up and make some action. We have to go down to the gym, like somebody was saying. We have to man up, but own it, but not man up and like ignore our emotions, which is the normal way we use that phrase. Not to man up and say stiff upper lip and just bite, and just forget that. No, allow yourself to feel it. Hold space for those feelings, and in that holding of space, that's the real embodiment of this masculine ability to instigate change and instigate something more positive in our lives. And we need to be the instigators, not wait for the world on the outside to do it for us, but to actually light a fire up our own arses and get the ball rolling. Have a fantastic day, week, month, whatever. Love to hear your comments, and much love as always to you all.